Hey, what's going on, everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video. Alright, so the Los Angeles Lakers did, in fact, lose the game at the Crow against the Clippers on the Clippers' home floor. Um, some of the players that I thought was going to really ball out didn't exactly kill it, but what we did see is basically what I thought we would see, which was some funny lineups that ultimately led to a funny deficit, but ultimately the Lakers had opportunities to win that game, had an exciting ending to it with AD having a chance to win it at the buzzer and the shot just not falling. You got to give credit to both teams for playing a spirited game. Both teams were dealing with a lot down there. Uh, what was really glaring in the box score, honestly, was the free throw differential. We shot significantly more free throws than the Los Angeles Clippers, and only shot about 68% of them. You want to kind of take advantage of opportunities like that because they don't come around very often, and that was something that just really popped off the box score. You see that immediately. The rebounding differential was pretty bad too. They got us on the boards, but ultimately, man, to be honest with you, I didn't see the first half very much. My enthusiasm for this game just wasn't where it needed to be. It wasn't really a reflection of what was going on the floor. It was just a reflection of me being worn down from seeing so much of the same from the Lakers. To it just, for me personally, I was just not really into this game like I needed to be. Um, but nevertheless, I watched the second half pretty closely, and what I really took from this game truly was just a lot of the same. Honestly, I mean, you're happy that you saw a good play from Malik Monk. He had 20 something, 7 and 7, which was really good. He was really active out there, making himself available to play well. Austin Reeves got to the rim tonight, which is what I've been calling for him to do since his shot hasn't been falling. He passed up a couple shots that I thought would have helped him, though. One key play where he tried to make a pass would have been a great layup, that kind of thing. But the late game execution in this game was really what was glaring to me. We just didn't execute very well down the stretch. Unfortunately, we lost another good player to injury tonight. Carmelo Anthony went down with a hammy somewhere. I think it was in the second quarter. So that was really tough on the squad. Um, we leaned on Trevor Ariza tonight a lot, and it didn't really show up in the box score, but at the same time, you could clearly see that his size was helpful out there because you see in the plus minus, he was the best plus minus player on the floor. So though he didn't really fill it up, I can't say that he played poorly, and I can't say I was upset that we really called his number. Brody did some good things out there, hit some big shots for us, but we also saw some bad Brody out there, especially down the stretch of the game near the 4 minute mark. It was a situation where we were only down 4, and then it was just 2 straight plays. One of them was where he threw the ball off his leg, and another one I think was something went wrong as well. So it was just not great execution by the team as a whole. I would have liked to have seen us uh, just execute better down the stretch, man. When you have a situation where you got a huge uh, differential in the free throw, you're down most of the game, you find a way to claw into it down in the fourth quarter. You just want to see us close, and we just didn't close. Of course, you give credit to the opponent. Marcus Morris Sr. was definitely the best player on the floor for them tonight, hitting all kinds of shots, especially a clutch 3 from the corner. You give credit to Reggie Jackson. No surprise to me. I expected him to play well. He was definitely aggressive and active out there. And then Serge Ibaka. Listen, I said it in the pregame. I said this very thing. Stanley Johnson is often put on guys that are 6'10", tall guys. And he's going to have to find a way to be effective in those situations, though as impossible as they are. It's what Frank Vogel demands. And unfortunately, he was getting shot over a lot. Serge Ibaka was looking like, a great player out there in the first half because a lot of times it was just a size mismatch he was able to use against us. Lakers have a terrible habit of switching a whole lot, and we saw a lot of that tonight. Different mismatches, some of them were taken advantage of, some were not. But when we switch as we do and have small ball lineups with only one big on the floor, you're going to have issues like that. And that's exactly what we saw tonight. More of the same as we see every night. just us continuing to run small ball to our own detriment. Um, Also, more of the same. Dwight Howard had about 10 minutes. He had 7 rebounds, 7 points, 4 rebounds. Another very good game for Dwight Howard, snuffed out by the limited usage choices by the coaching staff. And you just saw the difference on the floor when he was out there. We were doing a lot better. You saw the lead start to shrink because we were able to get those offensive rebounds out of him. Second chance, third chance points between him and Anthony Davis were really big. A lot of good rebounding on the offensive end by both of those players, but we just didn't see that enough. You know what I'm saying? We didn't get a whole lot out of Stanley Johnson. He had an awful game tonight offensively. Not a whole lot of scoring there. You saw Coach lean on Avery Bradley. Gave him about 20 minutes. Didn't get a whole lot there as usual. And that's what's starting to eat away at me, honestly, you guys. I ain't gonna lie. With everything that I'm doing and dealing with in real life, when you know what to expect from your team and it's a whole lot that you don't like, it just makes it so that it gets harder and harder to get ready for certain games. And tonight was that for me personally. Just couldn't get ready for it. I just knew what I was going to see, and I was right. And that's exactly what ended up being the case. Although I was happy that I saw more effort tonight, particularly from the entire team, but especially from guys like Anthony Davis and Malik Monk. THT played well in the beginning of the game as it pertains to hitting his shots, but his shot selection started to cool off and Coach kind of went away from him. I would have liked to seen Coach to kind of go with him a little more just because he had his confidence going in the first half. It's the same thing that happened about 3 games ago where he had a really high shooting percentage, but Coach decided not to go with him. He seems to only like to play THT when he's playing poorly, so it is what it is. What else? It was just a lot of what I missed, honestly. A lot of what I missed. That first half was really something that I just didn't pay no attention to. The second half, I was into it, though. But down the stretch of the fourth quarter, it was just a lot of big plays made by the Los Angeles Clippers. But they were leaving the door open for us, They left the door open, and we had that opportunity down the stretch. Brody hit some big shots. You got to give him credit. Not being afraid to take some big threes and things of that nature. They fell for him tonight. Anthony Davis was able to really make his impact felt. But ultimately, it was just a running hook that I just would love to have back. In situations like that, I got to say I'm ignorant to what the timeout situation was. Maybe we didn't have any left. But in a situation like that, ideally, you want to see us put the ball in the point guard's hand, and then from there, the point guard create something for the big. In that situation, they just inbounded the ball to AD and asked him to create from back court. So he's running toward the basket and just does a sweeping hook. And I understand why that happened is because nobody wants to trust Brody with the ball. That's really what happened there. You saw a lack of trust for the guard that should have had the ball in his hands creating for someone else. Now, if we would have had a point guard in that position that we trusted, you put the ball in his hands, he then gets AD in a much better position to get that shot off. But instead, AD's trying to create it for himself. Well contested, game over. Now, I think AD makes that shot some of the time. I think you're going to get a good percentage of times where he's going to make that shot. But ultimately, you just don't want to see him, barreling down the lane, trying to create something for himself as time expires. That's just not what you want done there. So if I took anything away from this game as a whole, it's more in regards to just bad late game execution. And so I definitely accredit that to the ineptitude of our very own Frank Vogel. He was awful tonight, as he always is. I can't lie to you guys. I'm tired of ranting about it. I'm tired of complaining about it. I have a headache even thinking about it. And I'm no longer really angry at him. That's not where my anger is. Now I'm just looking at Genie. And I'm just saying, you really disappointed me this season, letting things get this bad, giving him this much rope because of our lack of health. When you're waiting for the team to get healthy in a COVID season, you're going to be waiting for a long time because you're going to always have players going in and out of the lineup. You got to adjust your understanding to the fact that this isn't like other seasons. You're not judging him on the fact that his team is complete because you need a coach who's going to be able to manage incomplete situations because the roster is constantly incomplete with what's going on with the COVID protocol. So what you need is a coach that you can trust will get the most out of whatever you have. Not necessarily waiting for all of what you have to come together, because that's not necessarily ever going to happen. And I think that's just what Genie has kind of failed to understand about what we're faced with this season. You're not waiting for your team to come together, because nobody in the league has their full team at any given moment. Anytime you have COVID protocol available to you, you have to assume that there's going to be any and everybody plucked from your lineup at absolute random. Now, granted, we're missing players because of injury, but it equates to the same thing in terms of your expectations and what you need to be assessing in regards to your coach. So that's just something I wish you would have understood, because this is not at all okay. And I understand we're missing Braun, but this was a winnable game. And it's against one of our biggest, most hated rivals on their floor. Half of the building's rooting for us as usual, and we didn't close the game out. In a situation where we're fighting for a playoff spot. This is just not the type of game you want to lose. Not only are they missing Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, but they were also missing Zubats and several other of their role players. They're just getting guys back. You got Serge Ibaka out there playing center. That was something we could have taken advantage of. Instead, they were able to take advantage of it because of how Franklin decided to guard him. That should have been us having the advantage. Ibaka is not a 5. That's what I'm here to say. He's not a 5. But they ran him at the 5, knowing we were going to go small ball, knowing we weren't going to match up properly, and they were actually able to take advantage of a situation where their player shouldn't even been playing that position his dang self. So this is just like, he plays Trevor Ariza the whole fourth quarter and doesn't put Dwight down there at all. You see sequences where he has THT and Westbrook on the floor at the same time. As I tell you, that's one of the worst things we could do for ourselves, because they make the same mistakes. It's just like, man, I swear, I don't know what happened to Frank Vogel. I want to say this. This is not who was coaching the Indiana Pacers. I remember that Pacer team. They had a big lineup. They played excellent defense, and they executed very well. And that's why they were in a position to go deep into the playoffs. I don't know what's going on with this dude. To me, it's almost like you forget he won a championship. You forget he coached that Indiana team. All you see from Frank right now is the guy who coached that Orlando team that was awful as heck. That's who we got, that Frank. And that Frank is not a good coach, man. And I know there's a lot of casuals out there who say he's not the problem. It's not about him being the problem. It's about whether or not he can be the solution for your problems. Because the problem is the fact that you don't always have what you need for a plethora of reasons. You know what I mean? And I just understand that so clearly. So it's like you cannot expect to lean upon Avery Bradley like he's Devin Booker out there. That is a very important statement that I need to make. In his eyes, Avery Bradley's like a Devin Booker, Jaylen Brown, Donovan Mitchell type. That is not how we need to move. Okay, we got plenty of young shooting guards out there who need their reps, who are going to ascend in talent if we play them properly. And this guy just wants to lean on vets because he just thinks that makes sense. Another thing, you got to respect size. One of the things that really worked for us tonight was having, obviously, Dwight Howard and AD out there getting offensive rebounds. Those were situations that you could see in the score were a plus for us. When we had AD on the floor getting those offensive rebounds, putting those easy buckets up, getting to the line, those were things that made our deficit closer. Once we go away from that, take AD out the game, start running these little small ball lineups with AD out there, take Dwight out the game and have small ball lineups with AD out there. You'd have like Avery Bradley and Austin Reeves and Russell Westbrook and maybe Stanley Johnson. Those guys are 6'5" or smaller. And then AD is away from the basket because he thinks that way. He's not necessarily someone who's going to be looking to bang in the paint or, kind of hover around the paint just naturally. He's more of a perimeter guy, even on the defensive end. And you just don't have any rebounders. So you saw a lot of sequences where the Lakers just gave up opportunities to get boards. And it was like, can't you see how much we succeed when we get those offensive rebounds? Can't you see that? Like, I see that as a fan. Why is that not correlating with our coach here? Like, your team does better when they get boards. Never mind what you're thinking, never mind what you're hearing. Just focus on what these words here. Your team plays better when they get boards. You need to write that on the wall for Franklin to see every time he walks into the crypto arena. Like, those are words he needs to understand, because it is so very true. You look at the score when Dwight's on the floor, and it's just a better situation for you. As soon as he starts getting creative with his small ball lineups, that's when we start losing by 11, 12, 13, 14-point deficits. And then when you put AD on the floor and put him in positions to get those offensive rebounds, that's when the score starts to shrink to 6, 5, 4. Like, it's very, very consistent. Rebounding is important for this team. I don't care what everybody else is talking about. That's just what it is, man. And it's time to start really zeroing in on that fact, because I'm telling you, we can try to run small ball for a lot of different reasons that may make sense in this era, but that does not help the Los Angeles Lakers of 2022. Okay? Like, that's what I took away from this game. You just clearly, more than anything else, if you watch the film, will see that very correlation between rebounding and success. It just is what it is, man. So I don't know, man. My level of frustration with this team, I don't think it can get any higher or any lower. And I just feel like I'm screaming at the wall at this point, because we're still continuing to just run the same stuff, see him make the same decisions, and just be okay with it. And the one excuse that we continue to have is that we don't have all of our players. Newsflash, you ain't never going to have all of your players. First of all, you're running players out of position, and a lot of those times you have them banging against players that are bigger than them. You look at Carmelo Anthony's hamstring injury. I mean, what do you expect? You got Carmelo Anthony running center a lot of the time. You got him playing big minutes like he's New York Carmelo. At some point in time, that 37-year-old body's going to start to wear down. He's taking more shots than most. We rely on him on a back-to-back. Yesterday, he had a great game. You turn around and have him playing big minutes tonight. It's like, how are they supposed to make it through the season? I said the same thing about Bron. When he was out there playing his best at center, and everybody was saying, yeah, that's a recipe for success. I'm like, he ain't going to make it through the season. He's 37 years of age, and you're asking him to play center, banging up against people like Jokic and Capella. Like, how's he supposed to succeed? I know what he looked like 2 months ago, but I told you by now he would be hurt, and look where we're at. This is exactly what I saw coming, because it's not hard to see. These things are just how it goes. Guys that are older need rest. Guys that are older need not bang with younger players who are used to being physical when they're not physical players themselves. These are things that are just happenstance. This is just how things go. So, it eats away at me when you talk about it every night. You see the same thing every night. And it's just over and over and over again, Groundhog Day, and you look at this coach and he just continues to make these bad decisions. It's just like Luke Walton all over again. You know what I mean? I don't know what to say anymore, other than this is what happens when you run him out there. When you run that coach out there, you best believe you're going to be a 500 ball club. And it ain't because the roster's bad. It ain't because you don't have everybody. It's because of the choices that he makes with what you have. And that's what we saw tonight. I give a lot of credit to the Los Angeles Clippers, but they didn't play their best game. It's not like they were barn burners out there. That's a team missing a lot of what it is that they do. They ran basically 3 of their starters missing, and they were still able to get a victory against the Los Angeles Lakers, who had AD and Russell Westbrook on the floor. And for the good things that Russell Westbrook did, I have to say, I just get to a point where I don't trust him either. I mean, I didn't like the fact that we didn't give him the ball in that situation, but it's like, if we did give him the ball, what was he going to do with it? Go down there and jack up some hero stuff? It wasn't going to work. He was going to lose too. So it's like, you just want players you can trust on the floor. You just want a coach that understands who to put on the floor and when. I like Stanley Johnson a lot, but you can't expect him to have any success guarding a 6'10" guy in the paint. You can't expect him to have success doing certain things like that with certain lineups on the floor. I mean, I just think that there are so many different ways to get more out of this team.
I'm waiting for us to use Dwight and AD at the same time. It's never going. I mean, it's so easy to see how successful you'll be when you have that type of size on the floor. You will literally beat teams. You're gonna beat teams. The way Dwight has been playing these last 2 games, you're gonna beat the hell out of teams if you play both of those guys at the same time. It's gonna happen because they're both gonna rebound. They're both gonna block shots, and those are easy buckets and fouls. Fouls that are gonna be drawn by players you want off of the floor. Like, I don't understand why this is so hard. Basketball is not that hard of a sport, man. This small ball crap, I'm telling you guys, it needs to end. And I'm not just talking about our team. I'm talking about the entire league. This small ball mantra, the way this Golden State era, it needs to go away. I will be very happy when we start respecting centers again because they make the game easier. You know what I'm saying? They really make the game easier. It's not just about shooting threes all the time. It's really not. It's not about being able to switch everything in positionless basketball. All of that is really cool because players are coming in more skilled. But at the end of the day, I don't care how well a guy can dribble and shoot the ball. If he's not equipped to rebound and make things easier on his team, it means more exerted effort out there for each and every player, which means you're going to get tired, injuries come, and things of that nature. Big men erase mistakes. I can't tell you how many times I saw either Malik Monk miss a layup or Russell Westbrook miss a layup, and then either AD or Dwight Howard would just clean it up. They'll pick up the offensive rebound and put it back up. That's an easy bucket. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to fight all hard for fadeaway threes and all kinds of, movements and all this drive and all that. You don't have to do none of that. Easy buckets make the life easier for everyone. He snatches it out the sky, puts it right back up. And it's just, those are 2 points. 2 points. There are a million ways to get 2 points, but none easier than having a dude that's 7 foot snatch a board off and just put it back up and get fouled. I mean, it's just the easiest way to score in the world, and I just want us to respect that. I really, really do. So yeah, man, I don't know. I mean, I never played basketball professionally. You know what I mean? I don't obviously have the great basketball IQ, but after watching this game so much, some things are just not really. It doesn't require you to have a great basketball IQ. It just requires you to have a certain level of patience as to understand what works and what doesn't. Just look and see, okay, that works, okay, that doesn't. And that's not what I see Frank do out there. I think a lot of what he does is politic ball. Maybe he has an issue with Dwight Howard from way back in the day. Maybe he had something, maybe he resents Dwight back from the Orlando days or something. He don't want to play him. Maybe he's a fan of Avery Bradley from back in the Boston days, so he likes him. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of that kind of crap happening out there. It's politic ball. Trevor Ariza getting all the minutes in the fourth quarter. Like, what is that garbage? I just am done. Been done. And I'm taking the temperature of the NBA in terms of the Laker fans. We're all done. I don't think there's a single soul out there who's understanding of what it is that I just described, that is happy with Frank Vogel being our coach. Most of the people who are saying Frank ain't the problem are looking at this situation as an either or. They don't even see all the angles necessary to assess this properly. Anybody that really knows the game can clearly see that the choices this coach makes gives us the worst opportunities to win games. And nothing is changing about that. We're just continuing to lose games because of it. So while we were lucky to win last night, not so lucky tonight. And we should have won this game too. So this is the type of thing where it's like, even if we have all our players come playoff time, I know he's going to get in the way. We're going to get knocked off in the first round or in the playoff play-in tournament because of his habits, his ideas of how things should go. He's going to hurt you. You know what I mean? It's like, that's the thing. It's like, I'm not looking at this and saying, okay, well, maybe we get all our guys back and then we can possibly upset. No, we're not going to upset anyone because he's going to manage the game in such a way to assure that we don't. And that is what I know, and that's what I'm preaching. So, congratulations to the Los Angeles Clippers. I know it must feel great. Y'all get bragging rights. But as I said in the pregame video, we're not going up against our opponent. We're never going up against our opponent this season. We're going up against the choices of our coach. And that's our biggest opponent. That's our biggest, that's what it is. That's who we're fighting against every night. And I stand by that. And I'm going to stand by that until I either see changes or until he's gone. So it's about Genie now, man. It's about Genie. It's Genie Buzz. Are you tired of this yet? Can we fire him now? Or are you waiting for Bron to come back? But then you realize Melo's going to probably be out. So even if Bron comes back, Melo ain't out there, so we don't have our full team. It's like, what are you, you know, nah. This has to stop somewhere. So, I don't know, man. Hopefully we can make some changes, but I'm not counting on it. Everybody seems to be just fine. I don't know. Whatever. That's my attitude these days, man. Whatever. I'm a Laker fan for life, but this is a wash season. And, I'm not sure that even if we make a trade that we're appreciative of, that this will change. I don't think it will. Honestly, we can bring anybody in, and we're still going to see him do these same things. So, I hate to tell you guys, but he's the problem. If you want to look at it as an either or, even though I know we have a plethora of problems, the moral of the story is a good coach would get more, and a bad coach will do what he's doing. That's it. Credit him with the loss. My name is BDO44. I thank y'all for watching. I'm out.